chapter 12. And the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your land, and your birthplace, and your father's house, to the land I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and those who damn you I will curse. And all the clans of the earth through you shall be blessed. And Abram went forth as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went forth with him, Abram being 75 years old when he left Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his nephew, and all the goods they had gotten, and the folk they had bought in Haran, and they set out on the way to the land of Canaan. And they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram crossed through the land to the site of Shechem, to the terebinth of Moreh. The Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your seed I will give this land. And he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he pulled up his stakes from there for the high country east of Bethel, and pitched his tent with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. And he built there an altar to the Lord, and he invoked the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed onward by stages to the Negev. And there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grave in the land. And it happened as he drew near to the border of Egypt that he said to Sarai his wife, look, I know you are a beautiful woman. And so when the Egyptians see you and say, she is his wife, they will kill me, while you they will let live. Say, please, that you are my sister, so that it will go well with me on your account, and I shall stay alive because of you. And it happened when Abram came into Egypt that the Egyptians saw the woman was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's courtiers saw her and praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And it went well with Abram on her account, and he had sheep and cattle and donkeys and male and female slaves and she-asses and camels. And the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his household with terrible plagues because of Sarai, the wife of Abram. And Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, she is my sister, so that I took her to me as wife? Now, here is your wife. Take her and get out. And Pharaoh appointed men over him, and they sent him out with his wife and all he had. Chapter 13. And Abram came up from Egypt, he and his wife and all he had, and Lot together with him, to the Negev. And Abram was heavily laden with cattle, with silver and gold. And he went on by stages from the Negev up to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been before, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar he had made the first time. And Abram invoked there the name of the Lord. And Lot, too, who came along with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land could not support their dwelling together, for their substance was great, and they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's flocks and the herdsmen of Lot's flocks. The Canaanite and the Perizzite were then dwelling in the land. And Abram said to Lot, pray let there be no contention between you and me, between your herdsmen and mine, for we are kinsmen. Is not all the land before you? Pray, let us part company. If you take the left hand, then I shall go right. And if you take the right hand, I shall go left. And Lot raised his eyes, and saw the whole plain of the Jordan, saw that all of it was well watered, before the Lord's destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, till you come to Zoar. And Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan. And Lot journeyed eastward, and they parted from one another. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and he set up his tent near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were very evil offenders against the Lord. And the Lord had said to Abram after Lot parted from him, "Raise your eyes and look out from the place where you are to the north and the south and the east and the west, for all the land you see, to you I will give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make your seed like the dust of the earth. Could a man count the dust of the earth, so too your seed might be counted. Rise, walk about the land through its length and its breadth, for to you I will give it." And Abram took up his tent, and came to dwell by the terebinths of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and he built there an altar to the Lord. Chapter 14. And it happened in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim. They made war on Bera, king of Sodom, and Bersha, king of Gomorrah, on Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar. All of them joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is, the Dead Sea. 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and struck down the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzim at Ham, and the Emim at Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horite in the high country of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they swung back and came to En-Mishpat, that is, Kadesh. And they struck all the territory of the Amalekite, and also the Amorite who dwelt in the Hazazon Tamar. And the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar, went forth and joined battle with them in the valley of Siddim, with Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar. 4 kings against 5. And the valley of Siddim was riddled with bitumen pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled there, and leaped into them, while the rest fled to the high country. And the 4 kings took off all the substance of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and went off. And they took Lot, Abram's nephew, and all his substance, and went off, for he was then dwelling in Sodom. And a fugitive came, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he was then encamped at the terebinths of Mamre the Amorite, kinsman of Eshcol and Aner, who were Abram's confederates. And Abram heard that his kinsman was taken captive, and he marshaled his retainers, natives of his household, 318 of them, and gave chase up to Dan. And he and his servants with him fanned out against them by night, and he struck them and pursued them up to Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he brought back all the substance, and also Lot his kinsman, and his substance he brought back, and the women and the other people as well. And the king of Sodom went forth to meet him after he came back from striking down Kedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, to the valley of Shaveh, that is, the valley of the king. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, for he was priest to El Elyon. And he blessed him, and he said, "Blessed be Abram to El Elyon, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be El Elyon, who delivered your foes into your hand." And Abram gave him a tithe of everything. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the folk, and the substance take for yourself." And Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I raise my hand in oath to the Lord, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take not a single thread or sandal strap of all that is yours, lest you say, 'I have made Abram rich.' Nothing for me but what the lads have consumed. And as for the share of the men who came with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share. Chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great. And Abram said, O my master Lord, what can you give me when I am going to my end childless, and the steward of my household is Damasek Eliezer? And Abram said, Look, to me you have given no seed, and here a member of my household is to be my heir. And now the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one will not be your heir, but he who issues from your loins will be your heir. And he took him outside, and he said, Look up to the heavens, and count the stars if you can count them. And he said, So shall be your seed. And he trusted in the Lord, and he reckoned it to his merit. And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit. And he said, O my master, Lord, how shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Take me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old she-goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all of these and clove them through the middle, and each set his part opposite the other. But the birds he did not cleave. And carrion birds came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them off. And as the sun was about to set, a deep slumber fell upon Abram, and now a great dark dread came falling upon him. And he said to Abram, Know well that your seed shall be strangers in a land not theirs, and they shall be enslaved and afflicted 400 years. But upon the nation for whom they slave I will bring judgment, and afterward they shall come forth with great substance. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in ripe old age, and in the 4th generation they shall return here. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And just as the sun had set, there was a thick gloom, and look, a smoking brazier, with a flaming torch that passed between those parts. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenite, and the Kenizzite, and the Cadmonite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. Chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, Look, pray, the Lord has kept me from bearing children. Pray, come to bed with my slave girl. Perhaps I shall be built up through her. And Abram heeded the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her slave girl, after Abram had dwelled 10 years in the land of Canaan. And she gave her to Abram her husband as a wife. And he came to bed with Hagar, and she conceived. And she saw that she had conceived, and her mistress seemed slight in her eyes. And Sarai said to Abram, This outrage against me is because of you. I myself put my slave girl in your embrace, and when she saw she had conceived, I became slight in her eyes. Let the Lord judge between you and me. And Abram said to Sarai, Look, your slave girl is in your hands. Do to her whatever you think is right. And Sarai harassed her, and she fled from her. And the Lord's messenger found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, "Slave girl of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" And she said, "From Sarai, my mistress, I am fleeing." And the Lord's messenger said to her, "Return to your mistress, and suffer abuse at her hand." And the Lord's messenger said to her, "I will surely multiply your seed, and it will be beyond all counting." And the Lord's messenger said to her, "Look, you have conceived and will bear a son, and you will call his name Ishmael, for the Lord has heeded your suffering. And he will be a wild ass of a man, his hand against all, the hand of all against him. He will encamp in despite of all his kin." And she called the name of the Lord who had addressed her El Roi, for she said, "Did not I go on seeing her after he saw me?" Therefore is the well called Beer Lahai Roi, which is between Kadesh and Beer. And Hagar bore a son to Abram, and Abram called his son whom Hagar had borne Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17. And Abram was 99 years old, and the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Walk in my presence and be blameless, and I will grant my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you very greatly." And Abram flung himself on his face, and God spoke to him, saying, "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You shall be father to a multitude of nations. And no longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you father to a multitude of nations. And I will make you most abundantly fruitful, and turn you into nations, and kings shall come forth from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you, through their generations, as an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your seed after you. And I will give unto you and your seed after you the land in which you sojourn, the whole land of Canaan, as an everlasting holding, and I will be their God." And God said to Abraham, "As for you, you shall keep my commandment, you and your seed after you through their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep, between me and you and your seed after you. Every male among you must be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you. 8 days old, every male among you shall be circumcised through your generations, even slaves born in the household, and those purchased with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed. Those born in your household and those purchased with silver must be circumcised. And my covenant in your flesh shall be an everlasting covenant. And a male with a foreskin who has not circumcised the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his folk. My covenant he has broken." And God said to Abraham, "Sarai your wife shall no longer call her name Sarah, for Sarah is her name. And I will bless her, and I will also give you from her a son, and I will bless him. And she shall become nations, kings of peoples shall issue from her." And Abraham flung himself on his face, and he laughed, saying to himself, "To 100-year-old will a child be born? Will 90-year-old Sarah give birth?" And Abraham said to God, "Would that Ishmael might live in your favor." And God said, "Yet Sarah your wife is to bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his seed after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Look, I will bless him, and make him fruitful, and will multiply him most abundantly. 12 chieftains he shall beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear you by this season next year. And he finished speaking with them. And God ascended from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all the slaves born in his household, and those purchased with silver, every male among the people of Abraham's household. And he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that very day, as God had spoken to him. And Abraham was 99 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised. On that very day Abraham was circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his household, those born in the household, and those purchased with silver from the foreigners, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. And the Lord appeared to him in the terebinth of Mamre, and he was sitting by the tent flap in the heat of the day. And he raised his eyes and saw, and look, 3 men were standing before him. He saw, and he ran toward them from the tent flap and bowed to the ground. And he said, My Lord, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not go on past your servant. Let a little water be fetched, and bathe your feet, and stretch out under the tree, and let me fetch a morsel of bread, and refresh yourselves. Then you may go on. For have you not come by your servant? And they said, Do as you have spoken. And Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah, and he said, Hurry, knead 3 seahs of choice semolina flour, and make loaves. And to the herd Abraham ran and fetched a tender and goodly calf, and gave it to the lad, who hurried to prepare it. And he fetched curds and milk, and the calf that had been prepared, and he set these before them, he standing over them under the tree, and they ate. And they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, There in the tent. And he said, I will surely return to you at this very season, and look, a son shall Sarah your wife have. And Sarah was listening at the tent flap, which was behind him. And Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah no longer had her woman's flow. And Sarah laughed inwardly, saying, After being shriveled, shall I have pleasure, and my husband is old? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why is it that Sarah laughed, saying, Shall I really give birth, old as I am? Is anything beyond the Lord? In due time I will return to you at this very season, and Sarah shall have a son. And Sarah dissembled, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, Yes, you did laugh. And the men arose from there and looked out over Sodom, Abraham walking along with them to see them off. And the Lord had thought, Shall I conceal from Abraham what I am about to do? For Abraham will surely be a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. For I have embraced him, so that he will charge his sons and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham all that he spoke concerning him. And the Lord said, The outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah, how great! Their offense is very grave. Let me go down and see whether as the outcry that has come to me they have dealt destruction, and if not, I shall know. And the men turned from there and went on toward Sodom, while the Lord was still standing before Abraham. And Abraham stepped forward and said, "Will you really wipe out the innocent with the guilty? Perhaps there may be 50 innocent within the city. Will you really wipe out the place and not spare it for the sake of the 50 innocent within it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put to death the innocent with the guilty, making innocent and guilty the same. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do justice?" And the Lord said, "Should I find in Sodom 50 innocent within the city, I will forgive the whole place for their sake." And Abraham spoke up and said, "Hear, pray, I have presumed to speak to my Lord when I am but dust and ashes. Perhaps the 50 innocent will lack 5. Would you destroy the whole city for the 5? And he said, "I will not destroy if I find there 45. And he spoke to him still again, and he said, "Perhaps there will be found 40. And he said, "I will not do it on account of the 40. And he said, "Please, let not my Lord be incensed, and let me speak. Perhaps there will be found 30. And he said, "I will not do it if I find there 30. And he said, "Hear, pray, I have presumed to speak to my Lord. Perhaps there will be found 20. And he said, "I will not destroy for the sake of the 20. And he said, "Please, let not my Lord be incensed, and let me speak just this time. Perhaps there will be found 10. And he said, "I will not destroy for the sake of the 10. And the Lord went off when he finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19. And the 2 messengers came into Sodom at evening, when Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And Lot saw, and he rose to greet them and bowed with his face to the ground. And he said, "Oh, please, my lords, turn aside to your servant's house to spend the night, and bathe your feet, and you can set off early on your way." And they said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." And he pressed them hard, and they turned aside to him and came into his house, and he prepared them a feast and baked flatbread, and they ate. They had not yet lain down when the men of the city, the men of Sodom, drew round the house, from lads to elders, every last man of them. And they called out to Lot and said, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, so that we may know them." And Lot went out to them at the entrance, closing the door behind him. And he said, "Please, my brothers, do no harm. Look, I have 2 daughters who have known no man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them whatever you want. Only to these men do nothing, for have they not come under the shadow of my roof beam?" And they said, "Step aside." And they said, "This person came as a sojourner, and he sets himself up to judge. Now we'll do more harm to you than to them." And they pressed hard against the man Lot, and moved forward to break down the door. And the men reached out their hands, and drew Lot to them into the house, and closed the door. And the men at the entrance of the house they struck with blinding light, from the smallest to the biggest, and they could not find the entrance. And the men said to Lot, "Whom do you still have here? Your sons and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, take out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against them has grown great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." And Lot went out, and spoke to his sons-in-law, who had married his daughters, and he said, "Rise, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." And he seemed to his sons-in-law to be joking. And as dawn was breaking, the messengers urged Lot, saying, "Rise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who remain with you, lest you be wiped out in the punishment of the city." And he lingered, and the men seized his hand, and his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, and the Lord's compassion for him, and led him outside the city. And as they were bringing them out, he said, "Flee for your life! Don't look behind you, and don't stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the high country, lest you be wiped out." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lord. Look, pray, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown such great kindness in what you have done for me in saving my life. But I cannot flee to the high country, lest evil overtake me and I die. Here, pray, this town is nearby to escape there, and it is a small place. Let me flee there, for it is but a small place, and my life will be saved." And he said, "I grant you a favor in this matter as well, and I will not overthrow the town of which you spoke. Hurry, flee there, for I can do nothing before you arrive there." Therefore is the name of the town called Zoar. The sun had just come out of the earth when Lot arrived at Zoar. And the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord from the heavens. And he overthrew all those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew in the soil. And his wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham hastened early in the morning to the place where he had stood in the presence of the Lord. And he looked out over Sodom and Gomorrah, and over all the land of the plain. And he saw, and look, smoke was rising like the smoke from a kiln. And it happened when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the upheaval as the cities in which Lot dwelled were overthrown. And Lot came up from Zoar, and settled in the high country, his 2 daughters together with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelled in a certain cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the elder said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come to bed with us like the way of all the earth. Come, let us give our father wine to drink, and let us lie with him, so that we may keep alive seed from our father." And they gave their father wine to drink that night. And the elder came and lay with her father, and he knew not when she lay down or when she arose. And on the next day the elder said to the younger, "Look, last night I lay with my father. Let us give him wine to drink tonight as well, and come, lie with him, so that we may keep alive seed from our father." And on that night as well they gave their father wine to drink. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he knew not when she lay down or when she arose. And the 2 daughters of Lot conceived by their father. And the elder bore a son, and she called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moab to this day. And the younger as well bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the Ammonites of our days. Chapter 20. And Abraham journeyed onward from there to the Negeb region, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur. And he sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech the king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. And God came to Abimelech in a night dream, and said to him, "You are a dead man because of the woman you took, as she is another's wife." But Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, "My lord, will you slay a nation even if innocent?" Did not he say to me, 'She is my sister'? And she too said, 'He is my brother.' With a pure heart and with clean hands I have done this." And God said to him in the dream, "Indeed, I know that with a pure heart you have done this, and I on my part have kept you from offending against me, and so I have not allowed you to touch her. Now send back the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will intercede for you, and you may live. And if you do not send her back, know that you are doomed to die, you and all that belongs to you." And Abimelech rose early in the morning and called to all his servants. And he spoke these things in their hearing, and the men were terribly afraid. And Abimelech called to Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? And how have I offended you, that you should bring upon me and my kingdom so great an offense? Things that should not be done, you have done to me." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you imagine when you did this thing?" And Abraham said, "For I thought, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. And in point of fact, she is my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's daughter, and she became my wife. And it happened when the gods made me a wanderer from my father's house, that I told her, 'This is the kindness you can do for me. In every place to which we come, say of me, he is my brother.' And Abimelech took sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham. And he sent back to him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, 'Look, my land is before you. Settle wherever you want.' And to Sarah he said, 'Look, I have given 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. Let it hereby serve you as a shield against censorious eyes for everyone who is with you. And you are now publicly vindicated.' And Abraham interceded with God. And God healed Abimelech and his wife and his slave women, and they gave birth. For the Lord had shut fast every womb in the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife." Chapter 21. And the Lord singled out Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. And Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the set time that God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised Isaac his son when he was 8 days old, as God had charged him. And Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac his son was born to him. And Sarah said, "Laughter has God made me. Whoever hears will laugh at me." And she said, "Who would have uttered to Abraham, 'Sarah is suckling sons, for I have borne a son in his old age'?" And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the day Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, laughing. And she said to Abraham, "Drive out this slave girl and her son, for the slave girl's son shall not inherit with my son, with Isaac." And the thing seemed evil in Abraham's eyes because of his son. And God said to Abraham, "Let it not seem evil in your eyes on account of the lad and on account of your slave girl. Whatever Sarah says to you, listen to her voice, for through Isaac shall your seed be acclaimed. But the slave girl's son too I will make a nation, for he is your seed." And Abraham rose early in the morning, and took bread and a skin of water, and gave them to Hagar, placing them on her shoulder. And he gave her the child, and sent her away. And she went wandering through the wilderness of Beersheba. And when the water in the skin was gone, she flung the child under one of the bushes and went off and sat down at a distance, a bow shot away, for she thought, "Let me not see when the child dies." And she sat at a distance and raised her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. And God's messenger called out from the heavens and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the lad's voice where he is. Rise, lift up the lad, and hold him by the hand, for a great nation will I make him." And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave to the lad to drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew up and dwelled in the wilderness, and he became a seasoned bowman. And he dwelled in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife from the land of Egypt. And it happened at the time that Abimelech, and Phicol, captain of his troops with him, said to Abraham, saying, "God is with you, in whatever you do. Therefore swear to me by God that you will not deal falsely with me, with my kith and kin. Like the kindness I have done you, so you shall do for me and for the land in which you have sojourned." And Abraham said, "I indeed will swear it." But Abraham upbraided Abimelech concerning the well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized. And Abimelech said, "I do not know who has done this thing, and you too have not told me, and I myself never heard of it till this day." And Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them sealed a pact. And Abraham set apart 7 ewes of the flock. And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What are these 7 ewes that you set apart?" And he said, "Now the 7 ewes you shall take from my hand, so that they may serve me as witness that I have dug this well." Therefore did he call the name of that place Beersheba, for there did the two of them swear. And they sealed a pact in Beersheba. And Abimelech arose, and Phicol, captain of his troops, with him, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba, and he invoked there the name of the Lord, everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. Chapter 22. And it happened after these things that God tested Abraham. And he said to him, "Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Take, pray, your son, your only one, whom you love, Isaac, and go forth to the land of Moriah, and offer him up as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I shall say to you." And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took his 2 lads with him, and Isaac his son. And he split wood for the offering, and rose and went to the place that God had said to him. On the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from afar. And Abraham said to his lads, "Sit you here with the donkey, and let me and the lad walk ahead, and let us worship and return to you." And Abraham took the wood from the offering.
Start that story next time. Hey Tobias. Vanguard. Peter Woolman. Cheers, bro. What music shall we go to now? Let's listen to some Striper. You ready? This is a bit of a movement shift. I'll put the last 5 albums on shuffle. Striper. Better not play it too loud, we've got the neighbours. better turn it down. It's only 7 a.m. Quite neighbours. Running out of battery.